Hi everyone, it's Kelly with Women for One, and I'm really excited today to be with Dr. Deborah Rozman. She's the president and co-CEO of the company of HeartMath Incorporated. HeartMath's mission is to facilitate a fundamental shift in health, well-being, and coherence globally. Deborah helped Doc Childre start the nonprofit Institute of HeartMath in 1991, and as an executive director, she was involved in overseeing the research on the heart and creating the HeartMath training programs. Before HeartMath, Deborah was an entrepreneur, and still is, I'm sure, psychologist, business executive, and founder of one of the first private children's schools in holistic education in Northern California. She studied at the University of Chicago and the University of Santa Cruz and has a master's degree in child psychology and a doctorate in the psychology of consciousness. So welcome, Dr. Rozman, and thank you so much for speaking with our community today.
Well, thank you for having me, Kelly. This is a topic about women's empowerment that's very close to my heart, and I really am glad to be part of it.
I'm very excited. So I want to start with, because had we just spoken, I talked to you about how I've been involved in the consciousness movement, or whatever you want to call, for years, and I had never heard of HeartMath, and I was really shocked at how large it is in the mainstream as well. So can you just talk a little bit about it and what it's all about?
Absolutely. Well, the reason first, you probably haven't heard of it, is because we've been so focused in the mainstream community, but we really started our mission with Doc Childre in the mid-1980s, and the Institute of HeartMath actually was founded in 1991 to really research how spirit, heart, mind, brain, nervous system, body, how it all works together to help people bring their physical, mental, and emotional systems into balanced alignment with their heart's intuitive guidance. We were all long-term meditators at that time, and Doc Childre had a vision about the heart intelligence and the awakening of the heart and understanding it's an intelligence system. It's not only a physical pump. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to research that and then provide simple tools and techniques, create a user-friendly system that anybody of any walk of life, any belief system, any culture could use to really access their heart's intuitive guidance. And the research has been incredible since then, and the tools and techniques have transformed millions of lives, and we really haven't come out, so to speak, of our true consciousness mission until the last few years, which is probably why you haven't heard a lot about us, because we were actually really focusing on mainstream science, mainstream applications in schools and hospitals and healthcare systems, in digital health and technology for people to be able to really see the changes in their physical heart variability or heart rhythm patterns when they're connected with their heart's intuition. And it's been a very exciting journey. So HeartMath is really the steps to fulfillment through becoming who we truly are. And we define that as heart-empowered individuals who choose the way of love, demonstrated through compassionate care for the well-being of others, ourselves, and planet Earth.
Wow, it's really beautiful when you talk about the heart, because a couple years ago I always heard come from your heart, and drop into your heart when you meditate or heart break. All that word to me is so interesting, and I would say when I was going through a practice of learning more about myself and energy in my body, I actually felt my heart physically for the first time in my life. Like I felt a pain, I felt an expansion, and it was a physical sensation. So I wanted to ask, can you talk a little bit about some of the findings, the scientific findings for people?
Yes, I'd love to. So most people think about the spiritual heart. They know that the heart connects them with their, go deep into your heart for your answers, those sayings, put your heart into it, be heartfelt and genuine. And we were saying, are there physiological correlates to the physical heart with that? And so it was back in 1995 that our research was published actually in the American Journal of Cardiology, showing for the first time the critical link between our emotions and the physical heart. And where we found that was looking at the beat-to-beat changes in heart rate. Doesn't matter if your heart rate's high high or low, but with every beat, the heart rate is changing. When you say your heart rate, say 60 beats per minute or 70 beats per minute or whatever it is, that's an average. But if you look at the changes beat to beat and plot them on a graph, you know, have yourself hooked up to an EKG or a pulse sensor, you actually see a pattern. And when you're frustrated, angry, impatient, irritated, anxious, fearful, stressed, that pattern becomes very jagged and irregular. And the more angry, upset, worried, fearful, hateful you are, the more that's really jagged and looks like an earthquake. About how you feel inside is what it looks like. And when you're feeling, on the other hand, genuine feelings of appreciation, gratitude, love, compassion, kindness, care, and you're genuinely feeling that, the heart rhythm pattern changes in an instant and becomes very smooth and ordered, and it becomes like a sine wave pattern, which in physics is called a coherent waveform. So we call that heart rhythm coherence, and we develop techniques in the HeartMath tools and technology for people to quickly see how to shift from anger, frustration into that smooth heart rhythm, which then powers up your heartfelt intentions to have love or care or compassion, non-judgment, all the qualities of spirit. But what it does is more than that, shift to a, you know, it doesn't repress the feelings. It transforms your perspective, because what we also found in the research, and I found this very compelling, is that when your heart rhythm pattern is stressed or jagged or irregular and you're angry and frustrated, not that those feelings are bad, but they trigger the brain. The heart tells the brain how the body feels. It transmits through the vagal nerve that information, and it actually shuts down the higher thinking, creative, intuitive areas of the brain into the fight, flight, stress response to survival response. You can't see the whole picture. You can't see a bigger perspective when you're in stress or anger or frustration or anxiety. So you want to feel those feelings and have them motivate you to shift back to the heart, to get back into that smooth, coherent rhythm, where then the heart tells the brain, okay, the body's now in sync, and that allows your intuitive, your finer discernment, your bigger picture of the left and right brains to unify, synchronize, and now you can see new solutions. So love and care and compassion, all those qualities of the heart are not just sweet, wonderful feelings, they are activators of your higher intelligence, and that's why we call it heart intelligence.
That's beautiful for so many reasons. I was just talking to my friend this morning, and I was angry about something, and I said to her, I need to bounce this off you because I'm not clear. I'm coming from a skewed, angry perspective instead of a neutral understanding of what's really happening perspective. So it really resonates with me. But on a global level, and with our community, our three tenets are authenticity, inspiration, and the last one is manifestation, or creating a new vision. And if you're caught up in, my goal is to put the word out, if you're caught up in your story and the emotions and that anger around your story, you can never get to a place to be able to release it and see it from the heart, or from that compassionate, peaceful place, to create that new vision and manifest what you want. Do you agree with that?
Oh, you're exactly right, and the science and the physiology research supports that. You know, let's just say what you said in another way. Authenticity. To be really your true self, you have to be in sync with yourself. You have to have your system in alignment and clear to be able to authentically express your deeper feelings. Because anger is just a reaction to something deeper that you're feeling and perceiving and genuinely wanting to express. So to be able to know what that deeper perspective is and get to that clearer view, you have to get heart empowered. And so that's where we find that you can move into this coherent heart rhythm pattern, and then you're speaking more from your authentic true self, who you really are. It doesn't deny anything, but it takes your story to another level where you actually then can have a more objective view in telling it, a more authentic view. And what was your second point? There was authenticity and what?
Inspiration, to really be inspired, to be inspired to take action.
What does inspiration mean? It means bringing in the spirit, inspired, uplifted. To have that inspiration, it all comes from that heart. Because as the research we've shown, and get this, is mind is to brain, mind's like a field around the brain, as intuition is to heart. So the heart is actually, and I mean the energetic, physical heart, which has its own intrinsic little heart, brain, or nervous system, which can sense, feel, learn, and remember, independent of the brain and the head, is actually a different radio station that is actually receiving more of that inspiration or intuitive information, but you have to be in sync to hear that inner voice, to access it. And that will then trigger the mind from the heart to put it in the language you speak. Whatever your language is, your mind will then align with the heart and give you the image, the vision, the thoughts of that inspiration. And that's how the heart and brain work together. They're a joint venture partnership then with the heart leading the way. So women naturally lead with the heart, but it gets go quickly into emotionalism because it's not quite managed. But when you learn how to manage and self-regulate in the way I'm describing, especially action with your heart, getting into that rhythm, so when you feel the frustration or anger, you can actually use the simple HeartMath technique to come back to first neutral and then at least compassion for yourself and others, and that starts to open up the higher brain so you can then have that true care for yourself and for the wholeness, for the global picture. And then the third thing, create your new vision that you said, because that comes from that aligned heart and brain.
Yeah, and it's a very different place than a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to story tell. I don't want to just stay stuck in my story. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're releasing those stories. We're getting into that neutral place. And it's one of the tools you can use to come into that place of manifesting a new future for yourself. So with that, can you give our community a few little hints or tips of what some of the tools that HeartMath gives to people are, or techniques, or how we can find out about them more?
Absolutely. Well, you can go to the heartmath.org, the nonprofit website. There's a lot of free resources and services there, and also Global Coherence Initiative, which I know we'll talk about in a minute. But you can also, I have wrote a book called Transforming Stress, which people can get from either heartmath.com or heartmath.org websites, and you can, or Amazon or anywhere. The Transforming Stress book gives a whole description of what I've been talking about, and tools and techniques to be able to relieve stress right in the moment when you're feeling it, or up. So you want to clear the stress as you go so you stay connected with your empowerment. And you have long-term issues of heartache, most of us either have or have had, it gives you tools and techniques for how to clear that accumulated stress. Because that's what people don't want to get enmeshed more in their story, because if they just revisit and rehash the stressful feelings. But if you alignment, you actually get above it and you start releasing it, and you start really creating your new story from your true authentic self.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, that's wonderful. So I wanted to ask this one more question about this before we go into talking about the Global Coherence Initiative. When you talk about the state of coherence, I watched the video that we're going to post on our site when we post this interview about HeartMath, but they talk about personal and social coherence. And I just wanted maybe if you could just talk about that for a few minutes.
Sure. Well, the HeartMath theory of transformation, global transformation, based on research, is that first there's the individual coherence, as I've been describing, the emotional self-regulation, the taking personal responsibility for our emotional reactions, because they affect our mental reactions and our physical actions, our choices. So first is responsibility, is that personal coherence, just increasing that in our life. And no one's going to be perfect, but as you practice these simple HeartMath techniques a few times a day, they only take a few minutes, and you do that to shift into that heart coherent rhythm, your life changes, your perspective changes, your relationships change, and how you interact with others change, especially how you interact with yourself, but then that affects how you perceive and relate to others. You become more heart empowered, as we say. So that personal coherence leads to more social coherence, and that if we have a family, a group, a team, or just you and a friend or two, either in person or on the internet, you know, a heart buddy, practicing these, you create more social coherence in your environment, because the research also shows that as any one of us gets more heart coherent, our hearts are not only radio receivers, they're radio transmitters of whatever we're feeling. So that's why you can walk into a room and feel like the energy is so thick you could cut it with a knife, and you realize there's been some arguments going on in there. You feel the energy with your heart. And, or walk into a very inspirational setting, and the whole room feels uplifted because people in the room have been inspired, and people aren't even saying anything. You feel it with your energy. And so that is transmitting all the time. So as we become more individually heart coherent, we become more socially heart coherent. And we teach these tools to businesses, to schools, to organizations to de-stress and transform, so they have more coherent meetings, more coherent dialogue, more functional, less dysfunctional, and that transforms the social system, whether it's a business or a church or a family or a school. And so that, as we increase our personal coherence, there's more social coherence in the environment. As we increase our social coherence, the heart also is putting out these electromagnetic waves of energy with every heartbeat. That's what drives and runs and fuels the whole body, but it's also interacting with our environment energetically. And so Global Coherence Initiative is all about learning to see how, as we have a critical mass of heart-empowered, heart-coherent people practicing this, how that affects the Earth's energetic fields, the ionosphere, the magnetic field, the environment. It's really global, of our interaction of humanity's emotional state with Mother Earth.
And isn't that so true? I just love that you're talking about it from the scientific base, because for so many years I've believed everything you're speaking about, and I've always been kind of considered woo-woo, and it's really shifting now. This is energy. This is what we are made of, and I just am so beyond excited in the fact that we have done research and that is actually documented. You know, we did at one point think the Earth was flat. So I mean, this is the evolution of the world happening in front of our eyes, and I'm just so inspired by what you and your company are doing. It's really exciting.
Well, thank you so much. This was always our vision and intention. This was Doc Childre's vision, the founder of HeartMath, back in the late 80s. He told us, when I first started working with him on the HeartMath project, he had a vision in his meditations that the planet would be shifting and there'd be tremendous stress increasing from the 1990s right through the time period we're in now, and we can see it every year. Stress increases for people because things are speeding up, and the emotional system can't keep up with it. So people, he knew, would need simple tools and techniques to align their emotional system with the changes going on in the planet. And that's energetic, and that's not only because of internet and media. There's truly a shift going on in the planet where there's increasing solar flares now. The climate change, part's man-made, but part of it is just the Earth going through a transition itself. And we're here as humanity to learn how to align with spirit and align with that to advance our evolution. Absolutely.
So can you talk a little bit about the Global Coherence Initiative that you're beginning?
Yes. Well, we actually started it a few years ago, and it sort of was a research project, but also a very deep mission, was to create an initiative where we unite and co-create with thousands of other individuals and groups an environmental field of more heart coherence to bring people together in focused care and intention in a coherent mode to help transform humanity and the planet into more peace and more cooperation and into more individual, social, and global coherence, and measure the effects both on our interconnectivity and on the Earth's fields. So we have a website for Global Coherence Initiative that's www.glcoherence.org. And if people go to that, they can become a member. Membership is free. There's over 50,000 members now. And on that website, you'll see the mission, you'll see some videos, you'll see the research, you'll see the reports on the Global Coherence Monitoring System. And what this is our subtle magnetic field detectors. They're magnetometers that we've got 4 of them installed so far, and all linked together, that are reading the changes in the ionosphere, the protective layer around the planet, and getting information from the Earth's geomagnetic fields and seeing how they correlate with changes in what's happening in humanity. And when there's a solar flare, you see a lot of shift in the magnetic readings. You see a lot of changes happening for major global events. And you can see the tracking of that on the website. Now, our goal is to have 14 of these sensors installed at strategic areas throughout the planet. We have one in Boulder Creek here in California installed, one in Canada so far, one in the UK, and one in Saudi Arabia. And I know you told me a lot of your members or list are from the Middle East, and what's the King of Hearts Hospital in Saudi Arabia is a partner of HeartMath, and they helped fund that sensor there. Each one costs about $60,000 to install, and we're doing research with this cardiac hospital and with individuals and see how the changes in the solar flares and the Earth's fields affect the human heart rhythms and affect their moods and day-to-day. This is a very extensive study, and you can read about that on the Global Coherence website, glcoherence.org. And then we also saw the correlations with that with a magnetometer measuring the Earth's fields. So these Earth's fields and the changes happening in them really affect human brain waves and heart rhythms. In fact, the ionosphere has what's called the Schumann resonance, which vibrates at 7.8 hertz in the ionosphere, which is the exact same rhythm as the brain's alpha rhythm. And so that's why a lot of us are feeling unexpected mood shifts of stress or anxiety or angst, and we don't even necessarily know where it's coming from, or just feeling disturbed because we're so tuned into the changes happening in the ionosphere and the Earth's magnetic field coming from the iron core of the center of the Earth has different frequencies that are radiating out that resonate with the human cardiac rhythms, including the heart coherent rhythm. So as we learn to increase our heart coherence, we can feel more balanced, because remember, the heart communicates to the brain, the alpha rhythm synchronizes to the coherent heart rhythm, and we can move through those changes with more ease and grace and flow. So this study was measuring in Saudi Arabia the effects on 500 people, and then a control group of 500 people. Is a large study on how these changes are affecting people's moods and emotional states. And this is really important for humanity to understand that a lot of the major events, whether they're the Arab Spring or the terrorism, both positive awakenings and fearful responses, are really connected with the changes happening in the Earth's fields, and that we as individuals can do something about it just by practicing heart coherence and becoming more heart-empowered and listening to and following our heart's intuition. We help co-create the new potential. So
that's all wonderful. And so if we go to the Global Coherence Initiative site and we sign up, if you could give like a bullet point summary list of what we get, we can look at the monitors, we can look at the, look at the different tracking systems, we get updates. Is that what we do? We get on their mailing list?
You get updates, you get newsletters. You also can participate in the Global Care Room.
Okay.
And what that is you click on Global Care Room, you go to, on the homepage, you go to rotating Google Earth, and you can see other people who are joining together in meditations or heart-focused care and intentions who are in the care room at the same time from all over the planet. And every month around the full moon, and which is now, the full moon's in a couple days from when we're talking, there is a care focus that is sent out to all 50,000 members, and And it's on the care room, and you also get it emailed to you of what we're all going to practice, increasing our heart coherence and sending that coherent heart energy of love to different stress spots on the planet. And one is either upright, the new one is either, I haven't been on the website this morning, but it's either being put up right now, or it will be up in a few hours if it's not up already. And then you'll see people, sometimes there's several hundred at a time during the full moon period, in the care room itself, and who are all sending heart-focused care and intention to the same area of the planet. And this one, sometimes it just is an inspirational message at first about what's happening. Like there was 2 X-class solar flares, which are the strongest last week. So that might have shaken people up a little more, and they didn't even know it. So this is encouraging people to not wonder what's wrong with themselves. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just learning and understanding how the Earth's energetic changes, as well as all the craziness going on the planet, is affecting your personal energy and how you can take responsibility. Because it's all about taking more personal responsibility for managing our own energies, and then we help manage and help clear through our heart coherent radiation the density in the Earth's fields, and actually be able to clean up the internal environment, which is essential for clearing the external environment.
Isn't that so the truth? Through all the tragedies that have happened this past year, I've just been so completely aligned with what Gary Zukov talks about, and I get to interview him next month. I'm very excited about that. And he talks about pulling the root of violence, and that was his title. And it moved me into a place of tears when I read it, because it was about personal responsibility and looking at the violence within ourselves that we do to ourselves daily, and really shifting ourselves. So it feels that what you're doing feels very aligned with that. It really is about taking that personal responsibility and shifting your own field. But I love the part where you're saying, you're not crazy. There's things happening planetary wise, with people, there's social incoherence, if you might want to say it that way, that we're all picking up. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And there are things we're making choices with, too, moment to moment. Gary Zukov, by the way, is a dear friend of ours, dear friend of Doc Childre, the founder of HeartMath.
Oh, wow.
And he's been here several times. We've been to his home several times. And it's all about being your authentic self and taking personal responsibility. There's no way around that. I mean, we can have social gatherings and social uprisings, but it's that heart inspiration and the care and the compassion and acting out of the heart's wisdom that's going to create what's best for the whole. It is not separation. More separation creates more separation. And there's really a new mode right now. And yes, I just looked on the Global Coherence website. I'm here now, where the May 2013 full moon synchronized care focus is there. And the topic is coherent love and compassion. And there's a technique that's given there, both audio with me reading it, so that you can keep your eyes closed if you want, and written, where you can practice with others this care focus and sending heart energy to the coherent heart energy to the highly stressed areas on the planet that you're aware of, connected with, or wherever your heart got you. And then, of course, when we were just finishing writing this care focus, the tornadoes that hit near Oklahoma City, United States, just struck. So we added that as a note at the bottom to send some extra heart and care to the suffering going on there. But it's so moving to see who else from all over the world. We have over 100 countries participating in the Global Coherence Initiative from all over the planet. That's
just, it's so amazing, because it feels to me so different than just send them love and light. Like a lot of people say, it feels very grounded and intentional, and you encourage personal responsibility. So I encourage everyone to go to this website, glcoherence.org, and look up what they're doing and join this effort and see that you're not alone and that there's people all over the world doing this. It's wonderful.
And there's something you can do about it and get support and all of that energetically. That I think is really important, because it's all about co-creation now. The new world is that we are all truly connected head and the heart with each other, through the heart. We have different minds, different languages, different cultures, different upbringing, but it's through the heart that we're all one.
Absolutely. And so the last question I usually ask everyone is, do you have any few words, a quote, or a piece of advice for our community around anything that's happened in your life, or a message that you'd like to send to complete the conversation?
I think that the most important thing for me, and I've been on the personal growth path for 40 years, consciously and intentionally, is that people really learn to just practice, just keep shifting from your head to your heart. Filter your perceptions through your heart. Just take it on as a scientific experiment, if nothing else, if you don't believe it. And if you believe it, actually make the shift. There's an old Indian saying that the longest journey a man or woman will ever take is the journey from head to heart. Or the 18 inches between the head and the heart is the longest distance. And if you keep shifting your focus to the area of your heart, pretend like your breath is coming in through the heart area and out through the heart area, and do that for just 10, 20 breaths, or even for 30 seconds, and then intentionally activate a feeling, an attitude of gratitude, appreciation for something in your life, anything, and feel that as you breathe through the heart. You'll start to feel different. You'll start to perceive different. It's that simple. But because we're so entrained in the mind and the brain and the head, and our heart gets left behind, we don't do that often. So that's what I would like to leave you with. Make that shift to the heart. Do it as often as you can remember, but at least 3 times a day. And you will start to find your new vision. You will start to feel that inspiration. You will start to be more your authentic self, because that is who you truly are.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Rozman. It's so wonderful to talk to you and find out more about everything you're doing. And I encourage our entire community to go to the websites of HeartMath Inc. and also the Global Coherence Initiative. And we will have it on our website when we post this audio interview. Thank you again.
Thank you, Kelly, for all you're doing. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care. Thanks.